Last season, the Los Angeles Lakers had a major problem that just couldn't be ignored. They were dead last in bench scoring. That's a huge red flag for a team that wants to compete deep into the playoffs. You can't win big in today's NBA without reliable firepower coming off the bench, especially on nights when your starters don't have it going. In a perfect world, you'd have players like Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves anchoring that second unit, leading the offense, bringing stability, and punishing opposing benches. That version of the Lakers, balanced, deep, and structured, might actually be their most dangerous. Now, the idea of having Rui and Reeves coming off the bench sounds amazing in theory. They both can create their own shots. They both know how to play within a system, and they've proven they can perform in high-pressure moments. But realistically, we know Austin Reeves probably stays in the starting lineup. The Lakers love his versatility, his shot creation, and his ability to play alongside stars. Rui, on the other hand, might actually slide into that bench role again. And if he embraces it, he could become a key to unlocking a whole new level of efficiency and scoring for this Lakers roster. But here's the catch. We've seen Rui check out mentally when he's not in the starting five. That's been a pattern. If he's not engaged, if he's not feeling like a focal point, his production dips. That's something the coaching staff will have to stay on top of, because if Rui locks in and owns that sixth-man type of role, he could be the difference between the Lakers having a below-average bench and a legit top 10 second unit. He's capable of giving you 13, maybe even 15 points per night. Now add Jake LaRavia into that mix, a young guy with size, shooting ability, and untapped potential. If Jake takes that next step, you suddenly have two legitimate scoring threats off the bench. Between Rui and LaRavia, you could be looking at a consistent 25 to 30 points per night just from those two guys. And that's not even factoring in the points you'll get from someone like Gabe Vincent or Marcus Smart, depending on how rotations shake out. What matters is that the bench starts having identity, and that identity can't just be hold the lead. It has to be extend the lead. The Lakers have to shift from being a team that hopes their bench doesn't blow a lead to a team that counts on the bench to swing momentum. That's where things start to get interesting. Let's talk about the starting unit. Luka Doncic and LeBron James running the show. That's about as lethal of a combo as you'll find in the league. But here's the thing. Luka loves to cook early. He thrives in those first 5-6 minutes of the game, sets the tone, puts pressure on the defense, and usually takes a big chunk of his shots in that first quarter. So you want to surround him with defenders who allow him to go nuclear offensively without giving it all back on the other end. That's why someone like Marcus Smart or Jared Vanderbilt in the starting lineup makes so much sense. Luka can go off and put up 20 or more in the opening frame. We've seen it, but the Lakers often failed to capitalize on those outbursts last season because they couldn't get enough stops. Luka drops 25 in the first, and you're only up by 6? That's a problem. Adding defenders who can slow down the opposing team, force turnovers, and increase transition opportunities is how you start turning Luka's hot starts into big leads. And even on nights when Luka's a little slower out of the gate, maybe he's being doubled, maybe the shots just aren't falling, that defensive backbone gives you a chance to stay in the game. Because here's the truth. It's easier to inject offense mid-game than it is to suddenly ask your team to play elite defense. If the game is close, you can bring in scorers and shift the momentum. But if you're already down by 15, suddenly asking your team to become the 96 Bulls on defense is just not realistic. So, having that balanced attack, that flexibility with lineups, that's the real goal. That's why depth matters. Rui off the bench. LaRavia is stepping up. And then there's Nick Smith Jr., a sneaky, under-the-radar pickup that could pay big dividends if the Lakers play their cards right. Last year, he averaged around 10 points a game. Not great efficiency, but context matters. Charlotte was a mess, the roster was injured, and he had to create everything himself. But you rewind to his rookie season, and he shot over 40% from 3, admittedly on low volume. But that shows the stroke is there. If Nick Smith Jr. can carve out a role where he's getting 4 or 5 clean looks per night, especially playing alongside high-usage guys like Luka and LeBron, he might realistically shoot 38% from deep. That's a major asset. Now, imagine if he starts putting up 12, maybe 15 points per game consistently. Suddenly, you're not just looking at a two-way flyer. You're looking at a six-man of the year candidate in the making. He's not someone the Lakers are going to rely on from day one, especially with the depth they already have, but he could be a real mid-season weapon. Let's say the Lakers decide to make a 2-for-1 or 3-for-1 trade to improve the starting five, maybe going after someone like Andrew Wiggins. If that happens, you need to bring someone up into the rotation. That's the perfect opportunity to elevate Nick Smith Jr. into that sixth or seventh man role. He's got combo guard skills. He can play on or off the ball. He doesn't need a ton of touches to be effective, and he's got just enough playmaking to keep the ball moving. If he embraces that microwave scorer role, it's not hard to picture him as a valuable piece in a playoff rotation. Now, speaking of Wiggins, he's an interesting case. His skill set is obviously valuable. A guy who can guard multiple positions, hit threes, and create his own shot. But with Luka and LeBron already dominating the ball, how many opportunities is Wiggins realistically going to get to isolate, attack mismatches, and be that secondary scorer? That's why some argue that a player like Matisse Thybulle or Haywood Highsmith might actually be a better fit. Low usage, high efficiency, three, and D types that can knock down open shots and defend at a high level without needing the ball. Because what the Lakers need isn't another star to soak up possessions. They need glue guys, players that can fill gaps, defend at the point of attack, and hit open threes when the ball swings their way. That's how you get the most out of Luka and LeBron without cluttering the offense. Someone like Marcus Smart might already fill that role, depending on where he lands in the rotation. Or maybe Jake LaRavia continues to improve and becomes that guy himself. And if Jake ends up in the starting unit, then you shift your focus again to the bench. Can Rui be that offensive engine off the bench by himself? Or do you need another scoring guard to complement him? That's where a Malik Monk type would be ideal, but you may already have that in Nick Smith Jr. He's young, yes, not a ton of NBA mileage, but the potential is there. The Lakers don't need him to be a star overnight. They just need him to give them 10 to 12 efficient points per game off the bench, with some playmaking and defensive energy sprinkled in. The point is, the Lakers have options now. For the first time in a long time, they actually have young talent with upside. Players like Dalton Connect, who could end up being a trade chip or could become a valuable scorer off the bench depending on how he develops. If Connect comes out and averages 15 points a game early in the season while shooting near 40% from deep, that's great. Either he becomes your sixth man, or you flip him in a trade to get what you really need. And it's not hard to imagine a bench unit that features Nick Smith Jr. at the 1, Dalton Connect at the 2, Jake LaRavia at the 3, Rui Hachimura at the 4, and someone like Jackson Hayes at the 5. That's a group that can score, shoot, defend, and run. That's a second unit that can actually extend leads, not just survive. That's what separates contenders from champions: depth. The Lakers already have the star power. What they've lacked in recent years is the ability to win the non-LeBron, non-AD minutes. And we haven't even talked about Gabe Vincent yet. Before his injury issues last season, he was shooting close to 38% from 3. If he can get back to that version of himself, now you've got another vet who can give you double-digit scoring, play tough defense, and run the offense when needed. The puzzle is starting to come together, but it all hinges on development, roles, and buy-in. If guys like Ray, Jake LaRavia, Nick Smith Jr., and Dalton Connect all step into their roles and produce, the Lakers might quietly have one of the most improved benches in the league. There's one thing that has to be said about this Lakers roster. It's loaded with potential, but that potential has to materialize on the court. Because having names and having production are two completely different things. The Lakers were the number 3 seed last year despite having the worst bench scoring in the entire league. That's not just rare, that's borderline insane. It speaks volumes about how top-heavy this team really was and how much of the burden was carried by the starters. That kind of imbalance is dangerous. You can't expect LeBron James and Luka Doncic to bail the team out every single night. They're going to have off games. It's part of the grind of an 82-game season. And when those nights happen, you can't look over at the bench and see nothing but energy guys who can't score. That's why players like Nick Smith Jr., Dalton Connect, Jake LaRavia, and Rui Hachimura are so crucial. They don't just fill out the depth chart. They're the difference between a good regular season team and a legitimate championship contender. Let's be real. The Lakers are going to be one of the top offensive teams in the league no matter what. Luka and LeBron alone will make that happen. But if your starters aren't scoring at a high level on a given night and you're relying on the bench to carry a quarter or close out the third, you need guys who can put the ball in the basket. This is where the real question marks lie. Can Rui stay locked in if he's not starting? Can Jake LaRavia be consistent enough as a shooter and defender to justify serious minutes? Can Nick Smith Jr. be more than a flash in the pan? And what about Dalton Connect? Will he stick around long enough to make a real impact, or will the Lakers look to trade him the moment his value spikes? That's the thing with Connect. He's got scoring ability, there's no question. He can shoot it, he can attack closeouts, he's got real offensive tools. But his defense is still a liability, and in a deep playoff run, that could be the deciding factor. The Lakers front office is watching all of this closely because their next move might depend on it. If Dalton Connect starts the season hot, putting up solid numbers and spacing the floor well, you better believe he'll be part of every trade conversation. He might be exactly the kind of piece that a rebuilding team wants in return for a veteran wing or backup center. And that's where the front office has to be smart. Don't fall in love with potential if it doesn't fit your timeline. The Lakers are in win-now mode. Every move, every rotation decision, every contract has to support that goal. Nick Smith Jr. could be a real X factor in all of this. He's the type of player who could become indispensable or could be invisible depending on how the season goes. His offensive skill set is undeniable. He's quick, crafty, can create space for himself, and is comfortable with or without the ball. He's not the most efficient player yet, but efficiency often comes with experience and better shot selection, both of which he should get playing alongside stars like Luka and LeBron. What he has that a lot of young players don't is poise. He doesn't play rushed. He reads the floor. And if the Lakers end up needing that extra scoring boost off the bench later in the season, Nick might be the one to step in. The issue, though, is physicality. Nick Smith Jr. is still undersized by NBA standards, and when the game slows down in the postseason and switches get hunted, he could be a target. That's where defensive versatility around him becomes key. If the Lakers can put him in lineups with smart defenders who can switch, rotate, and cover space quickly, guys like Marcus Smart or Jared Vanderbilt, that might cover up some of those defensive gaps. And if Nick can give you double-digit scoring off the bench with a decent three-point percentage, he becomes a net positive, even if he's not locking anyone up on the other end. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, Los Angeles has never been a city that whispers. Rumors here grow wings and race through the night like wildfire. The latest echo bouncing from downtown to Hollywood Boulevard is that Bradley Beal, the three-time All-Star guard, has quietly severed ties with the Phoenix Suns and is already draping himself in the purple and gold of the Los Angeles Lakers. Nothing official has been stamped, no press release has been typed, but the chatter is growing too loud to ignore. Fans who swear they saw Beal near the Lakers' practice facility insist the move is already sealed, while league insiders remain cautious, labeling it as one of the boldest shifts of the offseason if true. The Suns, after all, gambled heavily when they brought Beal to join forces with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. That trio was meant to terrorize defenses and rewrite the Western Conference hierarchy, but the chemistry never sparked into a flame. Injuries, inconsistent rotations, and the suffocating expectations left the experiment short of the promised dominance. If Beal has indeed packed his bags, the narrative of Phoenix's super team dream may be closing before it ever really began. For the Lakers, though, this rumor feels like pure Hollywood scripting. Pairing Beal with LeBron James and Anthony Davis would add a fresh scoring punch to a roster often criticized for streaky offense. Beal's mid-range touch and ability to create in isolation could be the missing ingredient the Lakers have been craving. The city already buzzes at the thought of him walking down the tunnel at Crypto.com Arena, fans chanting his name as if he were already theirs. Of course, there are skeptics. How do the Lakers fit Beal's contract into their already tight salary cap? Would they sacrifice depth once again for star power? These questions hang heavy, yet they rarely dim the shine of speculation in Los Angeles. The rumor itself has become part of the show, a performance fans and media alike eagerly consume. Whether Bradley Beal truly makes the leap or not, the city is already imagining him in gold, already dreaming of new banners rising. Sometimes in this town, the whispers are as intoxicating as the truth. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.